Good evening, everybody. My name is Julian Routh. I'm the editor-in-chief of CapitalPundits.com. Welcome to our first Capital Pundits Roundtable. I'm here with writer Raymond Dark. Raymond, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
And I'm also here with writer Sean Ray. Sean, what is going on?
Not much.
That's great to hear. So, the New Hampshire primary last night, very crazy results. The media narrative right now is that Trump had a big win and Bernie Sanders had a big win too. Raymond, I'm going to start with you. Last night's results, what was most surprising to you?
Out of last night's results, I think the most surprising probably was how well Bernie Sanders performed among women, beating Hillary by almost 11%. And then on the Republican side, I think it was surprising just how quickly Rubio fell from how he did in Iowa.
Yeah, Sanders outperformed everyone's expectations, even though he was already supposed to win by a very wide margin. But that he won almost every ideological group and every income group besides the $200,000 plus families, it's pretty shocking.
Yeah, it's definitely going to set him up for continued success. And it's already starting to make it, his win in New Hampshire is already starting to make a difference with minorities. The black activist Tanisha Coates endorsed him today. He also met with Al Sharpton. So that should hopefully set his ground game to continue in South Carolina.
Now, Donald Trump, a lot of people thought he was going to probably hit about 27%, but he actually ended up hitting 35% last night and getting 10 delegates. That is a huge win for Donald Trump. Sean, how big of a win is it, would you say?
Well, the real thing is this isn't so much as a win, I see, as Trump having to catch up after his surprising loss in Iowa. He needed to bust out the win after Ted Cruz knocked him off his pedestal there. And really, Trump learned the mistakes from what happened in Iowa. He didn't go to the debate towards the very end, and that cost him big time. A lot of news articles are talking about people they interviewed at the polls didn't make up their decision until about 3 or 4 days before they actually went there. And not having that last-minute exposure is what cost Trump. So really, he's just kind of learning his lesson of what he should have known beforehand. He's just a little late to the game to it.
Yeah, I think the result certainly shows that he doesn't really have a ceiling anymore and that he looks more formidable as a candidate and less of a factional candidate as compared to, just benefiting of a divided field. He looked very strong last night. Do you agree?
Yeah, he definitely did. He did a lot better than I would have ever thought he would have done there. I expected a establishment candidate to, maybe get in the 20s, but he ran away with the field and captured most of the counties.
Yeah, speaking of the establishment lane, I think that it got a little more interesting last night, as if it could get any more interesting at all. Like you said, Kasich finished second with 16%. Then you have Bush and Rubio coming in fourth and fifth with Cruz in the middle. Bush is spinning this as a win. Would you call it a win for Bush, and what kind of momentum do you think it has moving forward?
I definitely don't think I'd call it a win for Bush. I wouldn't even call it a win for any establishment candidate. All that this has shown is that the establishment Republicans have no one to center themselves around. The outside Republicans have both Trump and Cruz, who are very strong. They have very big fan bases. All this has shown is that the establishment votes are just going to go back and forth, back and forth. In Iowa, it was Rubio who went ahead, and this time it was John Kasich. And the real question is, are they going to be able to center themselves around one singular candidate to really push forward? Because that's what's going to have to be the thing in order for them to beat out either Trump or Cruz. They need to have all their support going behind one person in order to push forward. And if they can't find that one person, well, if Kasich wins 3 or 4 states and, Bush wins 2 or 3 states and Rubio wins, 5 or 6 states, all that's going to mean is that their votes are too divided, and it's just going to hand the victory straight to one of the outsider Republicans.
So do you think there's a clear establishment lane candidate at this point, or would you agree with Sean?
Yeah, I agree. At this point, it's just too hard to determine who will run away. It'll be definitely important to see how long the robot Rubio thing lasts, to see if this will be his Dean Scream or Rick Perry oops. That'll see how bad that will hurt him going onwards. But until then, I think Bush is done. I don't think so. It's either going to be Rubio or Kasich that will try and get support together.
Well, Bush does have the advantage of a very good ground game and also a lot of money. Kasich, on the other hand, seems to be running out of money. But his showing last night, he had spent a lot of time in New Hampshire. Definitely reflected in his results. 16% is probably more than anybody would have imagined, say, 3 months ago. Yeah. But also, it wasn't 22%. If it was that, then that would be a huge win. What do you think of Kasich moving forward?
I honestly think Kasich, out of all the establishment Republicans, is probably the least likely to go any degree forward. He's just not the same household name that Bush or Rubio is at this point. And I think the New Hampshire victory for him is just going to be seen as a random accident, almost. I honestly couldn't see him pushing that much further forward. It's almost like Fiorina getting so popular in the early votes and showing up on the primary debates and stuff. It's going to happen, and then he's going to very quickly fade into the background.
Now, Fiorina and Chris Christie both dropped out of the race today officially. Raymond, I'll give this one to you. Were you surprised that Christie did so poorly in New Hampshire and that he hasn't lasted long at all?
A little bit, yes, because I thought his put down of Rubio and he managed to stay in all the top tier debates. I thought he would have done a little bit better, but I mean, how bad he did this whole race is surprising, because just a couple of years ago he was who everybody thought was going to be a shoo-in for the candidacy. He was really popular. New Jersey reelected him at a record level. He was shown being able to work with Democrats, but now all of that's gone.
Now, he definitely could not shake that Bridgegate. He couldn't shake the hug with President Obama. There was a lot of problems he had with his campaign, but I too am very surprised that he didn't last long at all. Finally, moving forward to South Carolina and Nevada, if Bernie Sanders wins South Carolina, I'm hearing today, and I agree with, that would put Hillary into a massive underdog status, and Bernie Sanders would become the clear favorite. What are the chances of that happening?
Well, the way I see it currently is that Bernie and Hillary are in a battle over two very important voting blocks of the Democratic Party. Bernie has the youth vote pretty well locked down. He has a massive social media campaign. He's very popular on Facebook and very popular on Twitter, and he's going to have that support. And that's very important. Obama traditionally won his election victories thanks to the youth vote. Meanwhile, Hillary is a lot more popular with the minority people. African Americans, Hispanics, people like that are much more behind her. So the real question is going to be which of those two voting blocks is going to be able to mobilize more, which one is going to be able to get behind their candidate, get out to those polls, and send those votes in. And that's going to be the really big deciding factor. Because going into South Carolina, that's a state that has a very big African American population. So Hillary is starting out the gate a favorite there. But if enough youth voters can get in there and vote in, then Bernie might either win it or get another very close race like in Iowa. And I think that's a very interesting battle. With the Republicans, you have establishment versus outsiders. With the Democrat Party, you don't really so much have that. Hillary and Bernie are both people who have been in government for a while. So it's more so just who they appeal to. That's going to be the primary battle in that election.
Yeah, I am kind of scared that maybe Bernie's coalition might be a little limited, that maybe this is a honeymoon period because, like we've said, Iowa and New Hampshire are mostly white, and these next states are going to make or break. Do you have any last things to add, Raymond?
I think I wouldn't expect a win for him in Nevada, or in South Carolina, I should say. I think if he gets within a couple percentage points, that would be a win for him. But I do think he could win Nevada because he's actually been having a ground game in there for a long time. So that might be a more easily winnable state than South Carolina, but if he manages to close the gap some, he'd still be able to declare some type of victory there.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on. Again, you've been watching our first Capitol Pundits Roundtable, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you for watching.